Start off today with a story about a guy I knew in college. We were on the basketball team together. He was much better than I. I think I made the team because in those days I was 6'2". I am about 6'1.5" now, but I was at one time 6'2". And in the 1950s, a boy who was 6'2" was considered tall as far as basketball was concerned. And it was a small school. Freshmen were allowed to play, and I made the team. His name was John, and we became good friends. Physically, we were very similar. I was 6'2". He was 6'2". I weighed about 170 pounds. He weighed 210. At 210, he was a good weight. At 170, I was underweight. In fact, I hate to admit it, but it embarrassed me so much that if we ever went to the beach or to a place like that, I would never take off my shirt because you could literally count my ribs. John was very popular, and we had an affiliate girls' school, and he met this gal. John was 6'2". She was about 5'6", and pretty good weight. Nice figure. I figure about 140 pounds in those times. And they really hit it off. They dated, and right after college, they got married. I've continued to be friends with them over the years and noticed the change, the difference. John today, like me, is still a little over 6 foot. He weighs, I would say now, 205. Her name was Shirley. She, 5'6", and now weighs about 180 pounds. Now, why am I telling you this? John was a healthy eater, always was. And when they got married, the healthy diet continued, but because of situation and circumstances, they went out to eat at least 2-3 times a week. And here is something that people don't seem to connect with. He sat down at the table, waiter came over, they ordered XYZ. She liked what it is that he ordered, and she ordered the same thing. The waiter came, put a plate down in front of him, and no one ever thought about the fact that they put down the same size plate next to her. He, 6'2", 210 pounds, decent. She, 5'6", 140 pounds, no way. And so as the years went by, he basically stayed the same. she began to put on the pounds. Because they were friends, they joined AccuWeight, and everything is good as far as that is concerned. But I thought I would share this with you because we do not think, we do not recognize that we are different, that metabolisms are different. What we eat has to be different, even though the food could be the same. Now, I'm going to put this aside for a minute and move on to AccuWeight loss as far as the intermittent fasting is concerned. Now, first and foremost, there are many kinds of fasts. In early human times, the hunters would hunt. If there was a period of success, food was abundant and people ate comfortably. If the hunters were not successful, it was really bad times. Now, really bad times. Now, let's call it evolution. The body at that period of time of human development learned, because of this disparity, the body learned to store fat for the period of time between hunts that were successful and hunts that were not. Now, if you think about it, the fat in our bodies does nothing. It just sits there. It's like the gasoline in the tank of your automobile. It does nothing. It waits to be burned. Now, I don't want to get into this understanding of fat itself. Simplistically, visceral fat, fat particularly around your middle, is not healthy. And I don't want to go into that and get distracted. In our present society, with all of the processed foods, with all of the sugar, with all of the food that is available, it's like a one meal a day thing. People get up in the morning, they have breakfast, and then between snacks and other things, it's like one continuous meal going on into the evening, watching television and going to bed. And here the statement counts. Calories in that regard and in every regard. People who are overweight take in more calories than they burn. And metabolism is a major factor in that, but in basically most people, it's calories in versus how many calories are burned and the determination therein of what that's all about. Now, weight loss is not a diet. And the reason I'm focusing here is because of the fact that for months I have been talking about control. I have been talking about the fact that you can control your behavior, but you cannot control your thoughts and your feelings. And I have also suggested to you that people, because of the psychological nature of who we are, have pictures inside our heads, and those pictures are acted out in daily life. I had a father who never spoke to me, but told me what to do. I loved my father. He never really spoke to me, but I wanted him to love me. So I did what my father told me to obtain the love of my father, because that's what made me feel good. Then I grew up. I still loved my father, but now I'm no longer living in my father's house. But the pictures in my mind of the things that I learned in order to get love from my father, those pictures are still inside there, and they control my behavior. Now, how many of you not only could tell a story just like that, and hopefully most of you realize that I was making up a story. It was not my father. It was a mystical character. The key is we're starting with the recognition of the pictures in our mind and the fact that when we are uncomfortable, when we are emotionally uncomfortable, don't try to narrow it down, emotionally uncomfortable, food is comfort. And it starts, as we've said time and time again, within the first few hours of our lives, when we were brought back to our mothers. We fussed, and she put a breast or a bottle in our mouths to soothe us. Food and comfort came together and is imprinted inside. Therefore, food is very powerful, but is not the core. I want you to step just a tiny bit away from food and understand it's not the food, it's the comfort that food brings. Now, if you stop for just a few minutes, hi Tara, if you stop for just a few minutes, you will notice that if you think about it, how many different kinds of things could you experience that would be comforting? And what I'm suggesting is AccuWeight Loss as a program. The food part of the program is not our issue, because you would not be watching me, we would not be interacting if you didn't already know that anyone who does the program properly will lose weight in a magnificent way up to 15 pounds minimum every 30 days. Some people don't experience that. And the reason they don't experience that is they have a conflict. The conflict lies in the fact that whatever the emotion is that is operating in the environment and how it meshes with those pictures in your head cause us to behave. For example, we live in a society where human beings, now think about this, animals act for survival. And stronger animals are preferred because they can protect themselves and they can protect their families. And that's why there are gatherings, prides and herds. And the reason for it is many together can more easily protect than a few alone. And animals do that for protection and survival. Human beings are very different. They do it for power. Think of how many times, just thought of a story. Years ago, there was a tennis player who was really terrific. And I enjoyed him because he was outspoken, let's say. He had a mouth. His name was Jimmy Connors. And I read somewhere that he said his success, his power, lost him friends. What happened is he was really on top of his game. And when he started to fail, he lost his edge, so to speak. He lost his friends. And he said it was interesting that when he made his comeback, he had many more friends. Now, what's that all about? The friends, in quote, related to him because he was Johnny Commerce, and they wanted some of it to rub off onto them. So power drives us. Control drives us. And the pictures in our minds, and that's what I'm trying to develop here, is a recognition that we do not need to be controlled by the pictures in our heads that have not worked for many years. The pictures are there. And that's why, for example, I came up with the magic protocol. It eliminates the pictures. Now, I want to go over to this side just a little bit and go back to people choosing to be miserable. Remember food and comfort. No matter how miserable I am and how miserable I feel, if you give me food that I really like, you give me food that I really like, for a few moments, I'm going to give up my being miserable, and I'm going to indulge in the food because the food gives me comfort, and the food intrudes on the fact that I belong. It gives me something. It feels good. Now, intermittent fasting is a very special type of fasting. It's the rage today because the overall concept, although incredibly good, needs to be packaged in the way in which we are doing it. Now let's understand what we are doing. We eat from 12 noon until 6 p.m. Let's not talk about the food, but we eat from 12 noon until 6 p.m. At 6 p.m., we stop eating. Calories are totally restricted. So whatever we eat or put into ourselves is calorie free. So from 6 p.m. until 12 the following day, so it's 12 to 6 is 6 hours. 6 hours and 19 hours, 18 hours. 18 hours we're not eating. Where are we getting our energy? And that's the reason why our program works. It's cleansing, it's detoxifying. We're restricting our intake of calories, very much so. We are feeding ourselves what a 10-month-old baby gets. And remember, at 10 months old, that period of time is the healthiest and the fastest period of growth for human beings. And if that be the case and it's successful, it must be good. Otherwise, why would it work? After 6 p.m., we're not taking in anything. And because of that storage of fat that I was talking about before, your liver actually goes to your stored fat, converts some of your stored fat into glycogen, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're living off the sugar that comes from the fat in your body. And since fat does nothing, it just waits to be burned, you're using that fuel, which does not harm the body by losing it. You're using that fuel to give you the strength and energy, and at the same time giving your body an opportunity to heal. Now, here is the key. Are you aware of the fact that you are free You have choices if you choose to have choices. And we're back now to being miserable or being something else. I lost my job yesterday. I feel terrible. I have a choice. I can look at it the way I immediately look at it. I feel terrible. I lost my job. That job gave me income. That job gave me identity. That job gave me many things, and now that's been taken away from me. I feel terrible. That's the immediate response. But now it's a month later, and I'm still miserable. And I'm still complaining to you. It shouldn't have happened. I have all kinds of excuses. But what am I getting out of those excuses? And that's the reason we choose to be miserable. I get attention. I get closeness. I get all kinds of stuff. But I do nothing because of those pictures I have in my head to do anything about it. And that's why I ask you to use the magic protocol. I don't want you to go through the process. I want you to circumvent the process. Hi, Stacy. Now, the reason I want you to circumvent the process is I could put you in therapy, and it could take X period of time to you to understand all of the dynamics involved, but you won't have lost an ounce. But if we take those Dr. John's lollipops, now follow me. This is really something, if you fully understand it, can change your life in so many ways. Remember the story I told you about this exceptionally overweight guy? He said to me, he'd worked for this company for 11 years, and he had never, except when every employee in the company got a raise, that's when he got a raise. He did his job. They were happy with the job that he did, but no one ever spoke to him. He wasn't involved in anything. He ended up coming to AccuWeight Loss, and he lost over 100 pounds. And he called me on the phone and said to me, Dr. Schwartz, I had to call you. And he gave me the background to remind me of the 11 years and the only raise. He said, the world has changed. Since I've lost the weight, my boss called me in, and number one, said to me, man, you look terrific. And by the way, I'm giving you a promotion. You've been doing this and this and this, and we want you to supervise that. And he gave me a raise. I'm going to meetings now, and people are talking to me. I used to be over 300 pounds and I was invisible. Now, with over 100 pounds lost, I'm visible. It's crazy. And something else, Dr. Schwartz. People are coming to me for advice. They're talking to me. It's incredible. Now, that's what I want, is for you to change your life by taking control. You can't control your thoughts. You can't control your feelings. You can control your behavior if we move outside the box. And here is the box, and that's what the Dr. John's lollipops are about. That stick is in your hand. Now, if that stick is in your hand, who's controlling it? You are. If you put that Dr. John's lollipop in your mouth, you've controlled the lollipop. You've put it in your mouth. Now, I love this. Try it. And do it just the way I'm suggesting. Right this moment, say, I want my lollipop. Say it. Verbalize it. Don't think it. Say, I want my lollipop. Now stop. How many of you are willing to call me on the phone and say, Dr. Schwartz, when I said I want my lollipop, see my face? It was hard for me not to smile and not to laugh. Number two, criticize the lollipop in any way, shape, or form. You can't. There is no downside to a lollipop. Now I'm sucking on my lollipop. What's the downside? Nothing. It tastes good. It's a lollipop. It's different than putting a cigarette in your mouth where people could criticize, but not a lollipop. People don't know how. But by putting that lollipop in your mouth, you take control, because all you have to do is, and you have to verbalize this. Let's go back to history. We've been dating for 3 months. I've taken you home now. We're standing outside your house. I put my arms around you. I give you, and you're not surprised, a romantic goodnight kiss. I touch your cheek. I say, I'll call you. I walk away. Everything is fine. Now, let's change that just for a moment. Let's rewind. Same 3 months dating. Same romantic goodnight kiss. Same touch in the cheek. But this time I look you in the eyes and I say, sweetheart. And remember, you've been dating me also this period of time. So your behavior says you want to be with me. I look you in the eyes and I say, I need to tell you that I'm falling in love with you. I touch your cheek, I walk away. Tell me that scenario number 2 is not more powerful than scenario number 1, and I'll prove it to you. After those 3 months, before I put my arms around you and gave you that romantic goodnight kiss, I thought, I'm falling in love with you, but I didn't verbalize it. It was in my head. It's not real. When you verbalize something, it becomes real. And that's why when you put that lollipop in your mouth, I want you to say, I'm using this because it's going to stop me from doing something that I truly don't want to do, but I've broken down before and given in. When you put that lollipop in your mouth, you are accepting responsibility for being in control of yourself. And when you are in control, there is nothing. Sorry about that. That was my cell phone. There is nothing that can compete with being in control. It feels wonderful. It feels good. It feels powerful. And it spreads into the universe. People recognize that in you. And you change, and your life changes. Right now, the issue is the recognition that you are under the control of your environment. And there are many psychological ways to deal with it. I believe that I have found a simple path for you. It's still very difficult for many of you to talk to me. I can't tell you how many I've spoken to over the week and how helpful people have been telling me the actual interaction is. Hi, Barb. Now here is the key then. When you say it, it's real. Now, simple step. Step number 1, get the Dr. John's lollipop. I've been using the Tic Tacs, remember, and the sugar-free candies, but they don't have a stick. And that's the difference. You're putting them in your mouth and you're sucking on them, and they do have the effect, because when it's in your mouth, you can't cheat, because the contamination of the taste of the candy and the food causes you to spit the food out. The lollipop has a handle, and I can handle it. I am handling it. I am in control. I am using it. And when you verbalize it, the rule of 21 begins to kick in. It becomes a new habit for you, with you in charge, with you responsible, with you losing weight, with you recognizing that changes you and can change your world. Intermittent fasting is healthy when done properly. And remember something else. We are not doing this for the rest of our lives. You have to acknowledge the way we live when we're actually doing the program is time limited. And who's making the choice? And why are you making the choice? Feedback is wonderful. I would love to have some. And now I'm going to take up the questions that have been submitted. And remember, any of you can, and they'll pop up on the screen for me. If you want to ask a question, please, I'll be more than happy to respond. And just out of curiosity, let's see. Barbara just said that it's much easier for her to follow the diet in the warm weather. food, comfort. Now, here's what I want you to understand about what Barbara just said. She's proving my point. It's psychological. She would not be there, like the rest of you would not be there, if losing weight were the issue. But there is a conflict. In the colder weather, in the shorter days, food and comfort come together. When you have the lollipop in your hand, you override the weather and everything. Remember the key. I want comfort. Take the lollipop, put it in your mouth. Now stop. Tell me, there was no comfort at all in putting that lollipop in your mouth? And let's go a step further. While you were using that lollipop, was it possible for you to break down and cheat? No. So as long as you had that lollipop and were using it, it prevented you from cheating. Now, I didn't ask you whether you wanted to cheat. The answer is yes, I did. I wanted the comfort from that picture in my head that cheating would give me. And you've been following that picture for years. Has it been helpful? Has it worked? Yes, it gave you immediate comfort. And then what? Guilt and remorse. Why did I did it? I do it again. I did it always. Take the lollipop. In your hand, it's control. Put the lollipop in your mouth. I take it out of my mouth and I taste it. You know, I didn't cheat. I'm doing it again. I'm in control. I'm not cheating. I still want that cheat, but I like the fact that I'm in control. I like the fact that I'm not cheating. And this is now going on for 5 to 7 minutes. And now the lollipop is done. The thought is still in my head. Take a second lollipop. The more you do it, the more you verbalize it, the more you recognize what you're doing, the more you remind yourself that you are in control, the more you remind yourself that this is temporary, the food part of the program. It's going to change your world and change your life. Next question. Why do I feel so hungry on milk days? I smile because many people ask me the same question. First and foremost, feel hungry, not am hungry. Feel hungry. And the answer to that is dehydration. You can live for weeks without food. You can only live for days without water. Milk is mainly water, but you're only taking in 20 ounces. Therefore, on a milk day, if you feel hungry, your body wants food to get the water in the food. So drink water. You can flavor it. You can use some electrolytes. You can try but be very careful with this. A teaspoon of honey melted into some hot water or hot tea and sipping it. It will stabilize the blood sugar because honey is very low on the glycemic index. And you move on. Next question. Is wasabi allowed? You know, I didn't know the answer to that question, so I went to Google and I looked up wasabi, and I found that the answer to that question was no. And the reason is I had no idea that the wasabi that we deal with has vinegar in it. Now, there is a Japanese wasabi that has no vinegar. So wasabi cannot be used, even though it tastes good, flavors your food, because it has vinegar. Is there a limit in sugar-free Jell-O? The answer is yes. There is no time limit. 1 box of homemade, not pre-made in the store, 1 box of homemade sugar-free Jell-O is permitted any 24-hour period of time, but anything left over cannot be carried over to the following day. And for those of you who are not enamored with the sugar-free Jell-O, there is a vegan product called Simply Delish, which uses different ingredients. It's vegan. The same is true. 1 box. It's delicious. It's vegan. And so you have 2 options for sugar-free Jell-O. But remember, 1 box, anytime. And what I do, because I have it in the refrigerator, is I make it and I take these 4-ounce cups, and before it gels, I pour the liquid into these cups and I put them in the refrigerator, because I've caught myself in the past holding the bowl and just thoughtlessly feeding myself with the Jell-O by putting it in individual cups. When I finish, I'm allowed to have more, but I literally have to get up, walk to the refrigerator, take it out. There's a consciousness because of the effort involved. And so it's really, for me anyway, and hopefully for you, much more helpful. Can we use butter buds? That's a simple one to sprinkle every once in a while. I have no issue with butter buds at all. The answer is yes. Can I use Ripple milk instead of lactate-free milk? It's actually lactose-free milk. Lactate is a name brand. It means the same thing. The answer is absolutely yes. Ripple is a vegan alternative to dairy. Excuse me. But it's critical that you supplement the Ripple milk with a minimum of 300 milligrams minimum of conjugated linoleic acid. CLA is an emulsifier which is found in milk and is essential in the weight loss process. So should you use the Ripple milk? Absolutely. But add a minimum of 300 milligrams of conjugated linoleic acid. Is sugar-free applesauce allowed? The answer is yes, but, and here's the but, it tastes good, it's wonderful, it's sugar-free. Therefore, what you're allowed to use is 1 cup, equal 1 fruit. And remember, you're giving up the chewing. And chewing is very psychologically helpful and satisfying. So be careful in your judgment as how you use it. Can I do 3 veggie days? I have a party this weekend. Here again, we're back to the recognition that this is not a diet, it's a chemical weight loss program. And just to reiterate, between the milk, fruits, and vegetables, fat, protein, amino acids, enzymes, fructose, the 5 basic nutrients the body requires. It's chemical. The 2 milk days melt fat, and I'm using that in quotes. The 2 fruit vegetable days, high in enzymes, dissolve the, quote, melted fat. 2 days milk, 2 days fruits and vegetables. If you add a 3rd day, you're altering the chemistry. And remember, H2O is water. A minor change. I change H2O to H2O2. It's no longer water. It's now hydrogen peroxide. Don't change the 2 by 2. If you're having a party, do a special day. Why can't you do a special day? Well, see, you're making an excuse. Who's the most important person? The friends that you could be with, the enjoyable time, or you? How long are you going to be on the program? Forever? No. Yes, if you don't lose the weight. Are you taking care of yourself? No. The answer is 2, 2, 2, 2. Should you need to, take what we call a protocol day, which is a special day, and then restart right after the special day with 2 dairy days. Can I use tea towards my water intake? The answer is yes, but it's qualified yes. And here is the simple reason why. Tea is calorie-free, but tea is not water. So as far as hydration is concerned, the darker the color of the tea, the less hydrating it is, because the colored tea has to go into the liver, be cleansed in the liver, and in the process of cleansing, you lose the amount of hydration. So the opposite is then true too. Any liquid of lighter or less color, especially pure water or seltzer, and when I'm saying seltzer or club soda, I mean without salt, is the highest level of hydration. I am always cold. What can I do? Well, when my wife did the program, I'd say I'll give you a hug. Especially in pandemic times and over the distance, we can't do that. If you are cold, it's really very simple. Get cayenne pepper capsules, a minimum of 40,000 heat units. Take it with water. For most people, there is no issue or heartburn, but you can take it, and if you do use Rolaids, and the reason I prefer Rolaids is they are pure calcium and magnesium. They don't have other stuff in them, so they neutralize any possible heartburn. No more than 110,000 units a day. It will warm your blood. It will warm you. It feels good. And by raising the temperature, you may even lose a little bit more weight, because the hotter you are, the more your body works to stabilize that. How much avocado can I have? On vegetable days, we can have 1.5 pounds of salad or vegetables. An avocado could be a fruit. It could be a vegetable. Now let's say we're using it as a fruit. One avocado is one fruit. Say we're using it as a vegetable. Then we use the avocado by weight. Avocados are wonderful. Their fat is very satisfying and healthy. And remember that avocado is also a major ingredient in my avocado salad dressing, which is totally legal. And for those of you who use it, it's great stuff. I want to thank you all for participating in. Hi, Deb. Oh, Deb has a question. What helps with non-exercise related pulled muscles? The answer is initially probably some ice. Number two, after let's say the following day, I would use heat. And a lot of people experience positive with CBD oil. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for being there. I hope today has been